When do my 10 minutes start?
The moment you start.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming, and thanks to Christian and everybody for organising this. It's a good opportunity for the candidates to express their view. Has anybody here not watched TV or listened to the radio or not looked at a computer in the last 24 hours? Okay. All right, that means that I kind of probably got to deal with the GBC poll that came out last night.
You move closer then. Move closer.
Is this better? Okay. The opinion poll that came out last night, I think I should probably deal with that. Now, I'm a person who tends to look at things positively. I look at things, the glass always is half full, and you know, I think the media missed it. The last time I was in an election, I got 4% of the vote. Yesterday, it appeared I got 8. Now I'm doubling that. Now it seems to me that I'm a bit of a roll on this one. and contrast that with some of the others. I think, you know, about 500 people, I think it was 461, about 500 people, over 21,000 approximately, were asked their views, and they expressed them. And I'm not sure if that really echoes a sentiment that I feel, or I'm told is on the street, or people think about the position, if it's that polarised. But what I would say is that it's an interesting poll for a variety of reasons. If it is to be believed, and I question that, what it tells you is 22%, if you include undecided, don't feel that they can vote for the existing two major parties. Now this is a poll that was taken over a week ago, before the messages got out, before the manifestos got out, before people began to speak. And already 22% are saying, I don't feel I can vote for the GSD, I don't feel I can vote for the GSLP. And if you look at it from a GSLP's perspective, it's down on the election by a substantial amount. And if we look at it from a GSD's perspective, and by the way, for those who don't know, it's 41% as I understand for the GSLP, 36 for the GSD, just under 12 for Brian, and coming a close fourth, 8 for me, which is sort of 3 from first, which isn't bad, not to use the word last. But you know, if we look at it, what we're saying here is that 22% don't feel they can vote for the two main parties, and I think that's a good starting point for anybody whose message is they're getting it wrong. We've got to have another decision. So I think I'll keep that in mind when you think about these polls and what they really mean. And I'm not going to use the cliches that the only polls are one on the night, the only polls are one on the night, but it is a reality. And I think with 2 weeks to go, and 22% of the electorate already feeling uncomfortable, I think it is all to play for. And you may end up calling me Lazarus, and this may be my Dunkirk, but I tell you D-Day followed, and as night follows day, I think there will be a D-Day for me on the 4th of July. I've done that, got it out of the way. I can get on with what is the rest of my address, which is really why you should think about voting PDP, why you should think about voting for me. What is this election about? Is it about government? Is it about Parliament? Well, let me say that my friend Albert would make a very good minister. I had no hesitation in saying that, and when he decided to stand, I rang him up and told him. I had no hesitation in saying that. But as the Chief Minister himself pointed out only 2 weeks ago, they can govern with 9, not 10. Now I'm sure he's not going to say, and we've done a terrible job. So I think it is absolutely right, they can govern with 9, not 10. So this is not about government, it's about Parliament. The Leader of the Opposition, Danny, made the point of saying, a new voice in Parliament enhances democracy. The opposite is also true. Now, I'm sure, not the fact that he keeps inviting me to join his party, that he had me in mind on that particular occasion when he made that comment. Well, I say that, but at least not under the PDP banner. But the fact is, at that moment, those moments of sincerity, and I'm not saying they don't have others, but on those moments of sincerity, they really express what this election was about. It's not about government. It's not about that, it's about enhancing democracy. And the question is, will a new voice enhance it? I believe it will. Now Albert, and Fabian, obviously in supporting Albert, is making the point here is that actually this is about getting another minister in, about working for you. So in his poster, Albert says, vote for the only candidate that will start working for you on the 5th of July. I know Albert. Now the idea that after an election night he's going to get up and go to work is... that Fabian talks about this election being between talkers and workers. Now, if workers, if the opposition aren't workers, then I think, I'm not a very good mathematician, but even the accountants in the room will tell you, there's about 3 million quid that the GSLP should start returning for the 16 years in office that they've been opposing. Let me tell you, that is a fact. I think this election is about opposition because it's important. When Albert last was involved in politics, we're talking about 96. It's a long time ago. I was in the GSD, Danny in the GSLP, Marlene wasn't in politics, I think Brian might have been in the GSD. It was important that there was a strong opposition. And it is equally important later, when the GSD was in government, that there was a strong GSLP opposition, and in the latter part, a strong PDP opposition. Opposition is fundamental. It's important to what we do and how we behave. It's important to you as businessmen, as an economy. It's fundamentally important to stability. That check and balance is important. And it's important that we understand whether this election is simply about another member, or is it about a check and balance? The suggestion is that one more voice is going to be just about bickering and arguing. Well, I'm telling you that if that's what it's about, then I would agree with the sentiments expressed by the Chief Minister in his support of Albert, which is actually a vote for those who are going to bicker and just argue is a waste of vote. It's a waste of your money. But that is not what I believe this election is about, and that's not what I believe I'm about or the PDP's been about. I believe it's been about constructive politics, and I think it's something that we have proven over a period of time we can deliver. Now, you're businessmen here, and you're going to make that decision. What's going to serve you better over the next few years until the general election? Is it going to be a 10th GSLP voice? Is it going to be an 8th GSD voice? Is that going to really help? Is that going to change politics? Is that going to act as something new that's going to help you? Is it the same voice? Is it just the volume turned up, or maybe not? To what extent is that going to help you? Or would a new voice, a slightly more constructive voice, something that's been missing in the last few years, something that might help you a little bit more? If it is, then I suggest to you that you consider voting for the PDP. Now, Brian's decision to stand is a good decision to stand because he's expressing that sentiment. He's expressing that sentiment. It's a brave decision. The only thing I have in relation to Brian's campaign is that I don't think the solution is an end-to-party politics. I don't think you can deliver on referendums or the end of the political system as we know it, constitutionally or otherwise. But the sentiment, I think, is absolutely right, and it echoes that 22% at the moment, or last week, that don't feel we're being served correctly. So why does the PDP offer something different? Well, as I've said, we've advocated for a period of time constructive proposals in both opposition and in favour of whatever political parties existed. Whether it's been on issues such as style of government, equality, on issues such as the need to deal with the fishing dispute, but perhaps by licensing, which has now been done, on business, the risk to Gibraltar, the UK leaving the EU, on the issue of the savings bank, and really whether it's sensible to have a savings bank unless it's regulated properly like every other bank, on questions of corporate tax and whether we should be down at 10% in personal tax, which in 2007 it was our manifesto promise that we would have a 10% tax, which was subsequently followed. In the over-nationalistic employment policies are actually not doing anything for our youth, as opposed to training that might make Gibraltarians a candidate of choice on merit and not by any other reason. On all of these issues we've led very often, and others have often followed. And that is the type of constructive politics that we bring to the table, and I believe will find a good home in our parliament and will serve you as businessmen well. Gentlemen, I've really gone over time enormously, but what I would say is that you know me, some of you know me less. I have my faults, I understand them, and I have my positives. I think that I do come across in a clear way. I have absolutely, for whatever reason, good or bad, no hesitation saying it as it is, and I would ask you to think whether or not that is positive. I also have a constructive side that is put to the test, whether it's a special levy, whether it's a strategic marketing plan. You have seen how that can be delivered. So what I would say to you is on the 4th, think about who would serve this business community better. And if you feel something constructive, even a different voice, not just more the same, might be helpful to you and your business, somebody you can call on to assist you when others want to avoid the subjects because they've been there before and made the mistakes, or because they haven't, then I would ask you to give some serious thought to introduce a new voice, namely my voice, into Parliament. It won't cost government, nor will it cost opposition. Thank you very much.